Hi, Chris here with a more affordable e-bike. This is from a company called Jansno. First time I have covered this brand, and this model is the X50. As you can see, it has a motorcycle look to it more than a e-bike, and it does retail for around about the €900 mark at the time of me filming this video. So very good price point wise for what we do get. So we have the 20-inch, 4-inch wide fat tires here and a battery that is removable, locked into place. They give you two keys. This is 12.8 amp hours. It's a 48 volt system. And we've got a 750 watt rear hub motor that can get us up to speeds of 40 kilometers per hour. Now, Jansno claim that the range of this is 50 kilometers, up to 50 kilometers, depending on your riding style, the conditions, your weight, and how many climbs and whatnot you do, of course. And I'll be covering that in this video. I'll let you know what kind of range I can get out of it. The brakes on this are mechanical 160 millimeter disc brakes, and we do have full suspension. So we have the shock up the front, and there is a shock here in the rear that do add to the comfort of this bike. And the seat style is, yes, again, like a motorcycle, and we even get a front headlight, which is quite a good one, with indicators. The rear tail light does have indicators as well, and the handlebar style all adds to that motorcycle style of this particular e-bike. Along with the bike, this is what else is included. So obviously we do have our charger, the charging cable, but they give us this, which is a cheap phone mount holder, and also a cheap bike pump, bike lock, and some tools for the assembly. So just a few other things now to point out with our X50. So the kickstand, this is fine. It does seem to do the job. It's holding and supporting that approximate 36 kilos of weight we have. The brakes, so as I pointed out, they are mechanical disc brakes, 160 millimeter. They're their own brand of brakes. Well, they've branded them there, as you can see. It's got the Jansno on it, and you can adjust those because eventually the cables do pull a little bit. So it's a 48 volt system with that 750 watt motor. And our tires, these are the 4-inch wide ones, as I pointed out, and the brand of them, well, they're the CST, and it is the BFT, which stands for, of course, big fat tire. Knobbly tread pattern. Do be careful with these in the wet just at first, because I have noticed when you do ride with this style of tire on the wet, they can be a little bit slippery. So it does come with these mud guards. We have our rear tail light, which is currently on. It's a little hard to make out in the moment, with the indicators built into it. Now you can see those really only at night, as you can see now. So they're all right. They add just a little bit more in terms of just indicating instead of just using hand signals you typically would with a bike. And the front indicators, those, as you can see here, are like a motorbike style, along with that headlight, which does have a daytime running LED setup to it, which is not really that bright. Now you can see here at night, again, now it looks all right. The front headlight, I do like the lights in there with both of the focal lenses. So you have a low beam and a high beam that's always on at the same time, and it really does light up the path ahead of you quite well. And the indicators, again, you really only see those at night. So the front shock, it's a no brand front shock here, and it does have okay amount of travel, as you can see from the grease mark there. Now I have measured that. It's about 50 millimeters travel. The plastic mudguards, sometimes they slap around a little bit and make a bit of noise. And our battery, which is the 12.8 amp hours, that is locked into place. And you do have here a status indicator on that battery, so you can gauge the level of it just by tapping that with some LEDs that pop up and will tell you its current level, which is good if you're charging it. Now, charge time is about 6 hours, and as I said, it's a 48 volt system. The shock in the middle, so this is one of my areas of complaint. I wish it had just a little bit more travel. It's about 25 millimeters, around 20 normally, so it does do something. And check out the welds with the frame. This is one area where I think it could be a little bit better. The welds, some of them look a little bit poor. You can see it's clearly, to me, hand welded. This is not a machine weld, and some of them could be a little bit better. The finish, the paint finish is average too. Could again be a little bit better there, but for the price point, it's been around €900. It is not too bad. Now the seat, motorbike style with synthetic leather, it is comfortable. It's got a lot of sponge to it, which is great. And as you see later on for my riding test, however, when you do pedal a lot, the width of the seat could be a little bit of a problem. And the handlebar, so this is a swept back style. It is adjustable, so you can loosen it off and pull that handlebar back a little if you want to. There are some rings here that you can remove, and you can lower and raise the handlebar height. And notice that the shock here, there is no adjustment, so it cannot be locked out. There is no adjustable preload that we sometimes do see. So the selector here, this is the Shimano, very basic one here, 7-speed, it's turny. We have for our derailleur, the brake levers, again, are the cable pull style, and we do have that twist style throttle. And these are not lock grips, so they do move about a little bit. I would probably end up swapping those over. And here is our screen, our display. This is backlit. It'll give you your odometer, trip information. You've got the 5 different pedal assist levels, as mentioned, up to 25 kilometers per hour. And here we have our indicator, the light, which can be always on when you just turn the bike on, and then our horn, which is quite loud. I'll give you a sample of that now. Very loud, so that's great for safety, just to warn people. This battery just slots out, and it does have a powered USB port. There is the main on and off switch for it, and it's using LG cells, which is good. So we have a proper brand name. These are from LG Chemical. So it's good to see that we've got South Korean battery cells in this and not just some generic battery cells. There is a chain guard here. The chain is a KMCZ, and I do see a lot of this model of chain. It's good that you've used a brand component there, and there is our Shimano tourney, very standard there. And they do include this protector for our derailleur, so we don't accidentally knock it, which is good. So overall, the bike's quality for the price tag isn't bad. It's just the frame quality with the welds and the paint finish could be a little bit better. Onto my riding test now. So thankfully, it does ride a lot better, the Jansno X50, than it looks. Now that rear suspension, as I pointed out, only about 15 millimeters of travel, but it is something and you do notice it. So you can either pedal, and the pedal assist will start to give you the assistance up to 25 kilometers per hour, or you can just use the twist throttle here, and you don't even need to pedal at all. And again, up to 25 kilometers per hour. Now, because of those spongy, large 20-inch, 4-inch wide fat tires, they do soak up a lot. They probably actually do a little bit more, I would say, than the suspension. It is a comfortable ride. The seat, however, because of the style of it being more like a motorcycle and quite wide, is a bit of a problem if you do intend to pedal a lot. And why is that? Well, it's because the seat here, you see when I'm pedaling, because it's so wide, it is rubbing against my inner thigh, so you have to change your rider style. So it's not a bike, I think, for pedaling for very long distances. Only for short distances, it's fine, sure. Not really going to be an issue then. Time now to test out the top speed. Now this is the only time I'm going to do it, just here in this car park and just to the end to see what kind of speeds I can get up to. So it should be able to do 40, so let's see. I'm going to pedal to start with, and I am in pedal assist level 5. It's already done 25 kilometers per hour already. 30, 32, 33, 34, 36, 37, 38, and yeah, 40, 41, 42, 43 kilometers per hour. So it is quick if you do want to unlock it. So riding along the flat, it is comfortable with those tires, but what about a little bit of rough stuff here? So some rocks, just fine because of these fat tires. So it goes over this really well, but I wouldn't take this bike, myself personally, the style of frame and the 20-inch size wheels, I wouldn't go down any serious off-road trails at all with a bike like this. It's pretty heavy too, around about 35, 36 kilos this bike in total. And the front suspension, that shock, it handles a few bumps. It's got a little bit of travel, as I did show you, but I wish the bike had a bit more. But overall, for just riding around on the road, it is very smooth and comfortable. Climb test now, so it can handle climbs of up to 25 degrees, which this one is. It's about 20 to 25. So I'm in pedal assist level number 5, pedaling, and this is effortless. It's very, very good here, the climbing performance. So this is going up, and I say that I'm only putting about 30% effort into this. Now I will stop pedaling altogether and just use the throttle now. The speed sensor that it does have, so it's not a torque sensor, can sometimes be a little bit slow to cut out. You probably saw that just then. It took a little while. It took about a second. And with the throttle now, I can climb, but it is a little slower. It's now just 13 kilometers per hour, the climb, but still good. Then my emergency braking test. So from the white post here, doing approximately 30 kilometers per hour, I can brake well before that post there. So the braking performance, even though it's just mechanical 160 millimeter disc brakes, they do work well, and their braking performance is above average, so that's good to see. Okay, so what about our range then? I'm able to get out of this bike around 35 to 40 kilometers, and I would admit that most of the time I'm putting it on pedal assist level 5. I do pedal a little bit, so if you pedal more, use a lower pedal assist level, then I can see you getting then about 45 kilometers out of this. So that's very close to their 50 kilometer range that you can achieve, even though it's only a 12.8 amp hour battery. Now, great to see they're using algae cells in this and not generic cells, which you really don't know if you can trust 100%. At least a brand like, say, Samsung or LG, which they are using, you've got a little bit more trust in that. Now, the bike does ride a lot better than it looks. It's in fact a very comfortable bike to ride on. The riding position with the swept-back handlebar, the motorbike style, and you'll probably be using a lot of the throttle. If you're allowed to use that and have it legally, then you'll probably be using that all the time, and you would be riding this more like a moped or a motorcycle than you would say an e-bike, because as I pointed out, pedaling on it, while fine, you do have to pedal with your legs apart a little bit more because of the wider seat. Otherwise, it's going to rub on your inner thighs there, because this kind of seat is really more for just sitting down and not so much pedaling the style of it. And you probably could have a passenger on the back of it. Load capacity is 120 kilos, but there are no foot pegs for a rear passenger. You have to find a way to add that on. So the motor, as I showed you, does have plenty of power, and if you have the unlocked version, it'll get you up to 40 kilometers per hour. Then that brings me on to the points that I think could be improved on this bike. Certainly the frame's welds. While they're okay, you can see some rough patches with the welds. Some of the areas of the frame with the paint finish could again be a little bit better there, so that's one area of complaint. The other is that the rear shock has very little travel in it. It's quite firm. The front shock doesn't have a huge amount, but it is okay. The fat wheels again certainly do help out. The brakes are only mechanical disc brakes, but as I showed you with my braking test, they tend to work out well. And factoring the price of about 900 euros, it's actually not a bad deal if you're on that kind of budget, because the more expensive models will have a better finish, a better frame, but you're going to have to pay probably around 600, even maybe 700 euros more than the Jansno X50 here. So thanks a lot for watching this review. Hope you did like it. Do subscribe for more e-bike reviews.